Hey everybody, Frank Menard here from the Menard team coaching, and this week we're going to be talking about cultivating creative vision. Did you know that there are two types of imagination? There's synthetic imagination and there's creative imagination. So what's the difference? Well, synthetic imagination is the ability to take things that we already know exist and put them together and use them in a different way. In this book that I'm referencing today, Napoleon Hill's Year of Growing Rich, we talked about this book a couple of weeks ago. This week is week number 35, and what they're talking about is cultivating creative vision. And in the book, they give an example about Thomas Edison. We all know who Thomas Edison is, probably one of the greatest inventors in the history of the United States, in the history of the world. Edison, it's rumored, failed at attempting to create the light bulb over 10,000 times. Well, one day, when he was sitting in his laboratory, tinkering, as he often did, he thought about how charcoal was being made. See, back then they used a lot of charcoal for energy. And the way that they would create charcoal is they would light some wood on fire, then they would cover that wood with soil, just allowing enough oxygen in to keep the wood smoldering. And it would smolder, and that result, the end result, was charcoal. Well, Edison started thinking. So we put an element in a glass container, perhaps a bottle, and we run electricity through it, and everyone knew that that would create light. The problem was we couldn't keep the light burning because the filament was so thin it would burn out. So Edison took a filament and he put it inside a bottle and he sucked all the oxygen out. Then he ran the electricity through the filament. And ta-da! We have a light bulb. That's how it happened. So he used his synthetic imagination, identifying certain principles that we already knew existed, that we were already using, applied them in a different way, and created the light bulb. They also give an example in this book regarding Dr. Elmer Gates, who was a pretty, in fact, it's recorded that he had more recorded patents than Edison did. And Edison was one of the greatest inventors ever known. But he did things in a different way. He used his creative imagination. So what Elmer did, or Dr. Elmer Gates, what he did was he created in his laboratory a soundproof room. And in that room, there was a desk, a chair, pen and a pad of paper, and a light switch. And he would go into that room, turn the switch off, and sit and think about the inventions that he was trying to create, about the solutions that he was trying to create. He would just sit there and think in darkness. And when a thought would come to mind, he would flip his light back on and then quickly write down what he was thinking. And then when that trail ended, he'd turn the light back off and he'd sit a little bit longer. It's actually recorded that at one time, he sat for over 3 hours in this dark room, just waiting for ideas. And when those ideas came, he wrote. And apparently, when he exited that room on that session, he had so many ideas written down on paper, some of which had nothing to do with the solutions that he went in to figure out. So he was using his creative imagination. Now, for us, we would call creative imagination maybe a hunch. Napoleon Hill calls it a sixth sense. So we've all heard that term. So sometimes we get hunches. We don't know where it's coming from somewhere in the universe. We just think of things that could apply to something that we're trying to deal with. So synthetic imagination, we use principles that already exist. Creative imagination, we come up with ideas seemingly out of nowhere to help us with the solutions that we're trying to find. So that's the difference between the two. I read earlier, in fact, I think it's in Earl Nightingale's The Strangest Secret. There's a comment in there where Earl was actually speaking with a local doctor, someone who was really into people's minds and that type of doctor. And he asked him, he said, "Doctor," he said, "what's wrong with man today?" And the doctor gave it a little bit of thought. And he responded, Earl, men simply don't think. Well, let me ask you, are you a thinker? Do you think? Most of us just conform to what we've been taught, to what we see, to what we experience. We really don't sit and think for our own solutions. In fact, I heard somewhere where it's recommended that if you would sit down for just 30 minutes a day, quiet, no distractions, turn the phone off, turn the lights off, turn the music off, the TV off, everything's off. And you sit in quiet silence and think. Think on the issues at hand. Think on the problems you might be experiencing today. Think on the projects that you're working on, how you might be able to do them better. If you just sat there and thought for 30 minutes a day, you would come up with so many different solutions and so many different ideas on how to make your life better, how to do things better, how to be a better person, how to be a better business person, a better salesperson, if we just took the time to think. Problem is, we have so many distractions today. There's so much noise going on around us. We're not taking time to think. So this week, cultivating creative vision. How about a challenge? How about for the next 30 days, cut aside 30 minutes of silence to sit in your office, your closet, a soundproof room, somewhere where you remove all distractions. And just think. Bring a pen, bring a notepad, because you're going to come up with some ideas. I think you're going to be surprised. I'm going to do it. How about you? Hey, thanks for listening today. I really appreciate it. If you know of somebody that this message might be of some value to, please share it. Give me a like if it provided some value to you. And if you haven't already yet, please subscribe to my channel, where I come back every week to share foundational principles, cool ideas and thoughts, all coming from a man who I greatly respect, Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book Think and Grow Rich, and so many others that we have as resources to help us live the best life that we want to live. I'm committed to bringing these messages to you. I hope that you're finding them helpful. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great day, and we'll talk soon.